their classes fill up. So with that, any questions before we move on? Yeah. Yeah. How many of our U.S. grants versus foreign grants? That's a good question. I don't know the exact numbers offhand. But part of what I hope to do this week is connect with the residency programs, not only to figure out the match, but also your point from the data as well. Okay. I believe that some of the med students end up going into specialty care because of the high cost of that school. So the fact that a few of the med schools are now starting to either discounted or does that give us hope that we're going to get one? That's a good question. I mean, the hope is at the end of the day that they will go into primary care in terms of whether we offer tuition assistance. Does that way folks say? We have seen positive results. You may be familiar with the UC Davis ACC program. So that's a model of medical school training where they do a medical school student comes in and does training in 3 years. And they have a really robust partnership with Kaiser when they stay out there, such that I believe Kaiser pays tuition. Correct me if I'm wrong here. But that program has been very dedicated to training students to go into primary care. So, you know, the fact that it's a 3-year tuition plus the high primary care is really good results in terms of getting folks to stay in primary care long term. So, yeah.
Well, it's actually, I think what we have at UC Davis now is 100% of them are in primary care-based specialty training with residency program. But if you look at the cost savings for students, it's almost $500,000 in terms of not only the tuition, but getting into the workforce a year earlier than everybody else. So, which specialties? Family medicine, primary care-based internal medicine. So those are the only 2 options they really have. And so all of them have matched in those programs, but they haven't graduated. So we'll see where after residency. Right. Well, but those are the internal medicine are primary care-based. So most of those graduates, at least traditionally in internal medicine at UC Davis, stay in primary care. Yeah. And so it's a smaller proportion of the overall class, which is like closer to 40, but about 10 of them stay in primary care, and those are consistent.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, Dr. Almontes. I know a couple of folks walked in. Introducing yourself.
So, hello everybody, good morning. My name is Dr. Almontes. I'm the medical director for the Institute for Health Equity at Ultimate, Federally Qualified Health Center, and we are building our teaching health center. And so we see that getting a FIRSTA grant is the bar for us to be called a teaching health center. So until then, we're a family medicine residency program. So that's how we sort of think about the concept, but we do see ourselves as building a teaching and learning health center. And it's been a tremendous opportunity for us to really challenge our physicians who currently work there, but also staff around what it means to have learners here. And it's a huge change in mindset, but an exciting one. It's reinvigorated a lot of people's commitment to want to stay at Ultimate. We're also seeing a lot of people coming asking for jobs. So those are the kinds of positive things we want to see. And so I hope to have more to say later during. Thank you.
Housekeeping question, is it just me hot in here, or is it? Okay, we're starting to cook in here.
Okay, I can ask them to lower the temperature.
Huh?
I can ask them to lower the temperature.
My own personal phone right now. Okay.
My name is Sabrina Kristoff, and I work with Dr. Salamantes, the manager of our new medical education department. So, along with helping to stand up the family medicine residency program, and also focusing on pre-med pipeline programs for students from and some CME activities. All of it is focused on really building a workforce that will work in primary care and will work in community health centers and are really adequately prepared for that need. So.
I live in the Avenue Division, I'm the Vice President of Operations at the Ultimate Institute of Health and Relief. Even though it wasn't challenging, it's fighting you all.
You should just say go to Macy's. Anybody else come in? Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna ask everybody to go. Hold on. Does this not go? Okay. If you could go on your phone. Yes, it's the one time you're allowed to take out your phone and download something called Poll Everywhere. Okay. Take a second for that. Got more tags on what to do. While you're okay, and while you're doing that, those who work with me know that I'm a very non-linear person. Okay? Agreed. I don't believe in boxes. So, I have slides, we have a timeline, and I don't care if we go off. Natalie will. But I don't care. During my time, if we want to kind of move to meet the needs of the folks here, I'm good with that. Okay. So ask questions. Be conscious of whether you're dragging the group in a direction the group doesn't want to go or whatnot, but feel free to engage with me because it's going to be a really long day if we don't. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, for Poll Everywhere, you can look for poll under Kiki Nocella 360, if you can find that one. It's going to ask a question, why are you here? We kind of already did that, but I kind of want the date on that. Hopefully I'll be able to do that. How do I move from...
Could we write that on this board?
Okay, and so how do I switch over to the internet? And can we blow up the results? I've already created it. Yeah. I don't want to start the survey, I want to show the results. Oh wait, I count polls. I polls. Oh, there you go. Well, start survey. I don't know if that's no. Okay. Well, she's figuring that out. There we go. Yay! Generate report. Okay, she's going to figure that out. Got a little technology. Yeah. Actually, this is the last one this morning. Natalie told me you only got up to 3 versions, $25, and I mean, 25 people, and so I had to change it to last minute. Okay. So, we're going to talk, while we're looking at this, we're going to talk about what are some of the models that are in every qualified health center. In honor of our Indian Health Clinic folks, and engagement in a residency program. Oh, you got it, you got it, you got it. We're still under. Good question. Just tell me it doesn't come in. The results. 37%. Okay. Yay! You did it! Okay. Oh, this is cool. Uh-oh. Nobody heard this was going to be a hit place to be today? Okay. Okay. Oh, it's changing. People are answering. This is so cool. All right. So, interesting. The latest number one. Change your numbers based on what you're seeing people do. Try. That's interesting. No one. Sorry, Dr. Shannon. No one. Oh, now it's changed. It makes me crazy. Okay, someone knew my feelings was hurt because it was a hip place to be. Okay. Still, rotation place is each one. Okay, so I'm going to skew towards that a little bit then in what I talk about, but I'm also going to push you guys. All right. Up front, I'm going to push you away from that as much as I can. And I'm going to look to also folks like Ellen and Kevin and others who have been program directors. Hey, you. Who invited Deb Lerner? Hey, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Deborah Lerner, CMO at Eisner Health. We run a continuity clinic for residents.
Yeah.
Yes, residents at California Hospital. We've done that for the last 7 years or so. Used to be working with like me.
Okay. But we settle down now. Wow. Okay, so I'm not doing to residency location site. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next question then. When you think of being involved in residency, what words come to mind? Oh, this is interesting. Complicated. Local. I like rejuvenate. That one's cool. Okay. Neat. Okay, next one. Who's your ideal resident? Oh, the chief of staff. No. Dr. Yang, really? How many people are Grey's Anatomy fans? We got one. Oh, come on. Burke is one of my favorites. They all are my favorites. Nobody wants to be Meredith or Izzy. Hey, it's Burke. It's Burke. The cardiothoracic surgeon. All right. All right. I think that's it for full questions for the moment. We're going to go back to it at the end, though, so just know. All right. It's a little bit of fun. So I asked the question about what kind of model and we need to turn off the light. And one model is where you guys sponsor it. You guys own and operate this program. You guys have full responsibility for the financial and academic integrity of this program. Next model is a hospital sponsor set and your continuity clinic site. Now, I don't have one that says rotation site, and I'll explain that a little bit. I'll explain that in a little bit, okay? But you could put that one up there. And in that model, it would be the hospital or the academic medical center being the sponsor, or the consortium being the sponsor. Another model, which you guys aren't like really feeling, it is Kevin's world, is the consortium is a sponsoring institution, and he'll have a chance later to talk a little bit about that. Okay? And you guys, the continuity or the rotation site. And then the one that is our traditional, what everybody knows, is the academic health center or medical school is a sponsoring institution. And the SQHC is a continuity site. Right? Okay. We've seen a shift towards federally qualified health centers being involved in residency training. Why? Why the interest? Okay, you guys aren't sponsoring, but the academic health center or the hospital comes to you and says, boy, do we have a deal for you. Why are they talking to you about it? Okay, come on, guys. Come on.
Some people are starting to think it might be important to train people on how to better serve folks who are in some
Okay.
have more
You
complex
need to talk, speak up.
social
Not hearing
needs.
you.
No, that's my answer.
Okay, so what Sabrina said is some people are starting to think that it may be a better idea to start training folks to serve the underserved. And we know from the literature that there is a far greater chance that physicians will work in underserved communities and stay in underserved communities if they trained in underserved communities. Seems like a no-brainer, but we had to do research on that, right?
3 times. 3 times like
Why else? Why are they coming to you? The hospital academic health center saying, boy, do I have a deal for you? Yeah.
they're not getting the training they need at the academic center, so I guess folks go,
Cool, cool. Okay, so they're not getting the training they need at the academic health center. Okay.
I think it's also giving real-world experience. There's a big difference between academic setting and when you're out in the underserved area. You know, sometimes for residents who come out of these big facilities, they have no clue what's going on in the real world.
Beautiful answer. Okay. And I'm going to get to, you don't know for me to get the data quite right. Academics who've seen this, or others who've seen this in the room. The Larry Green square of every 1,000 patients that are seen, okay, you're going to help me, Kevin. For every 1,000 patients that are seen, how many are at the academic health, health center versus out in the community? I want to say it's 1 in the community setting.
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Okay, so if you train in an academic health center, you're seeing the unicorn, right? Did I get the 1 number right? Okay, you're seeing the unicorn. Kevin's here to make sure that I get my data right. If you're out in the community, you're seeing real people, right? You're seeing general primary care, not just the unicorn. What else? Lena, didn't you have your hand up?
I was going to say, because my face was more interesting with the structure.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, I think the medical training is very residences. You can be here for this many hours. And heard is that you have a reputation for being more open about what you kind of do. Victims, the patients you serve, it's altogether, much more innovative type of environment.
It's definitely a much richer. Thank you, Kelly. You're going to be called on that. It is, because you've got $4,000 into that. SQACs and Indian Health Services are a much richer training environment. What you guys take for granted every day that you do in services, when I work with FQs, and I do it a lot, it's like, oh, this is cool. This is cool that the residents get to learn this. Street medicine? Whoa! Okay, that doesn't exist at the academic health center. Oh, wait. Kelly, then.
So money, because it's in an academic center, if you're trying to serve that population of underinsured, they don't have the PPS rates that the FQHCs have. They don't have the they don't get the money for those patients because they either have very little insurance. It's hard to serve people with no insurance unless you are an FQHC. And so you can lose a lot of money if you're an academic institution trying to run a community health center with knowing that residents are longer appointments. It's not, you have to do supervision. It's a little bit of a time, effort that's different.
Yeah.
So if you're not with FQHC, you're going to lose some money.
In fact, I have not set up a residency program in hospital licensed states in years. And I'd like to say it's all altruistic on the part of the hospital, but you'd all be sitting there going, what does this woman know? Not much, if I were to say that. It's all about the money. Okay? Kevin.
I'll just say that all of our primary care from Loma Linda, the medical school, health education department, went into our FQHC setting for that reason, primarily.
Yeah.
FQHC is a small minority of the so it was that shift of getting the route instead of having
You lose so much.
Yep.
But I would just add that the residents have found that the multidisciplinary approach to the FQHC is exactly what patients with typical patients that they are taking care of that have Medi-Cal, coverage or no coverage, need.
Yeah.
They just light up when they see all that support that their patients need.
Yeah.
When we're in the hospital and they're the same patients, they don't have that degree of support. So they see the advantage.
Cool. Yeah.
So I also think that there's, just sort of thinking back on what everybody's saying, I think there's a very sort of changing workforce, right? The younger training physicians are very mission-driven, and they want that exposure. They're hungry for it. And so being in that sort of mission-driven environment is very
Cool. Perfect. Okay, little birdie right here told me I need to move on. Okay, so I'll just say this. Let's see. Going backwards. Okay. A lot depends on where do you stand as to why you do it. Okay? Government and policymakers have an answer. Hospitals and academic health centers have an answer, and usually financial. And residency programs and schools of medicine have an answer, tends to be more curricular and getting volumes of patients they can't get. Okay? How am I going to meet my OB volume? Ooh, let's go to the F2HC. Okay, I'm beginning to really hate this. Okay. Where you're at, what type of organization you are, does predicate what kind of programs you have. In the academic health centers, they can pretty much do everything, right? They got the volume. But as you start to move to other types of organizations, it's more difficult to set up other sorts of programs, right? And that's a function of ACGME regs and a function of the volume that you might have. And the type of setting you are, as far as we're a primary care clinic. Okay? So usually in FQHC, we see family medicine, we see internal medicine, and we see psych. Sometimes, the friends, they have peds. So we watch mostly peds, we see rotations, but these are the types we get. Okay? Reasons to launch a program. If you're a hospital, you're launching a residency program with an F2HC with an F2HC because you're looking at emergency department diversion. You're looking at your aging physician workforce. You're looking at your Medicaid risk strategy. Just spend an hour just on that. And other revenue and avoiding strategies. Hold on to the last two for a minute. It's really important to get that the hospital you are partnering with is not doing this for community benefit.
Bingo.
Okay? Despite what they say. And I love the hospitals. They're my clients. But it is all about their EBITDA, their earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And I work for CPCA firms, so I better have been able to do that one. Okay? It's all about money. Medicaid risk strategy. Having a residency program in a federally qualified health center. That's Medicaid, right? Suddenly you've got a way to, dare I use the C word of control, your Medicaid risk strategy. Right? So I say this not to be mean or nasty, but for you. Okay? Medicaid risk strategy, EBITDA, and aging physician workforce, and ER diversion. Those are the topics. Now, I'd like for folks to realize that you never get into residency education for the money. Never. First of all, family medicine is there. And whatever is left over, if there is a profit, needs to be reinvested back into the educational mission. Let me repeat that. It needs to be reinvested back in the educational mission. Something that's not looked at all is the economic impact to the community. That is a great opportunity. We are all just, sitting on our hands about in the world of graduate medical education. Okay? What is the economic impact of starting this program to our community if we make the working assumption that is in the literature of about $1 million per family physician? Also, I apologize up front. I use family medicine a lot because that's what most city health centers use. So forgive me if you want to talk about something else. We can switch that too. Okay, F2HCs and consortiums do care about community benefits, do care about aging workforce. That's why they get into it. No, you're talking to somebody different. Okay. All right. Folks, if you're talking about an ambulatory rotation site, that is going to have the least impact on your ability to retain. Right? They don't spend a lot of time with you. They're not yours. They don't see you as home. Okay? The more you go along the continuum and get to a sponsoring institution where you own and operate the residency program, and yes, there are downsides. The more you do that continuum, the greater your probability of retention. If you are looking at federal HRSA teaching health center money, you must be either you sponsoring it yourself or a consortium where you as the F2HC have a major role, with major roles never having been defined. Okay? So when I say I'm going to push you guys on ambulatory rotation, it's cool, it's great, it's a wonderful way to start out, but know that your chances of retaining are far less than if you're the continuity clinic side or if you're the sponsor. F2HC is the ambulatory rotation site. That's the easiest model. You just need to find a partner, or they need to find you. Know that you're not seeing that resident a lot because there's no required rotation in federally qualified health centers. Maybe they'll send you for a couple weeks for their community medicine, or maybe they'll send them a couple weeks to pick up some OB because, yeah, you have a family doc who does OB and they need that. Okay? But it's based on their need for their curriculum, as it should be, because they're the sponsor. You're not going to get paid for it. I mean, you could. You can make the argument. It's a little tough. If you are successful, then they'll pay you the cost of teaching and maybe a community benefit grant. We can talk about that more later. It's usually not a family medicine program that you see it. It's more like PE, maybe internal medicine. But yeah, once in a while we see it in family medicine too. You'll get copies of all these slides, but the structure is that the residency program is going to pay a teaching services agreement for your cost of teaching, and that is a negotiation of what is the cost of teaching. And then they have to have something called a program letter of agreement. That is an ACGME requirement, a very basic agreement that maps out what the curriculum being taught, who's the site director, what rotations it will be at. Do not put business terms in there, because that's the one legal agreement that goes to ACGME, and I'd rather them not see anything that they don't need to see. Also understand that in California, we're a corporate practice of medicine state. That means that lay entities cannot employ physicians. That's right. So they may well want you to employ the faculty. And that's okay, because that gives you some modicum of control. And I'll tell a little bit more about that in a minute. What if you have a continuity practice site? In family medicine, we call that the family medicine practice. Okay, that's the 800-pound gorilla. And all too common, that's the view. Comes from academia, so I can get away with saying this, right? We're the university. This is how it's done. The CHC is going, we're so lucky to have you. Thank you. Got it. They need you. And don't let them be the 800-pound gorilla. This is a more challenging model because it requires conversation. It requires collaboration. And it requires a really sound legal agreement. You have to, as the FQHC, you have to balance now your mission of service with education. Right? Sounds easy, not easy. Don't invite you. They don't know how to partner with you. They don't get you. Nor do you always get them. So standing in each other's shoes and looking at the world from their perspective. I represent a lot of hospitals. And I see it all the time where they don't get FQHCs. I'm like, how can they not understand this? And I represent a lot of FQHCs. And I sit there and go, how can they not understand this? And they're throwing in a hot medical school and it's okay. Your needs must be met up front. Nothing wrong with asking for a planning grant. Nothing wrong with saying, this is what we need. And by the way, FERSA will not allow us to lose money on this. I throw that line out every time. If done well, it's going to result in retention of students, graduates. But with whom? You want to be home. You want to be the home. Then you have a better chance of retaining. Who employs who? What gets paid for? Is it being paid by CMS money? Is it in addition to capital debt in the finances? But ultimately, they need to pay for the cost of teaching. This is the structural model. In this, I put, this is if the FQHC is employing the faculty and the program director. Whenever possible, Deb, close your ears here. We're not on contract right now with them. But whenever possible, I want the FQHC to employ the faculty, hey John, the faculty and the program director. Why? Is it because I'm control free?
It's so much better if you can do that.
Deb, I think here.
No, I'm in complete agreement with you.
Yeah, it is. Well, and I'll tell you a quick story. I have a client in New York. takes over 120 residents a year from multiple different programs, and in its history of over 10 years of doing it, it has retained one resident. One.
I feel good now.
Wait, you got two.
Oh, they got a bunch?
We got a bunch. One resident, okay? Now why? Because the program director is sitting in their program, sponsored by the academic medical center. The faculty are in that program too. And they go and they interview residents like good faculty do, and they rank the residents like good faculty do. And what do you know, the residents don't have, the state select, are not sharing the mission of the S2HC, nor speaking the language of the population. They have these graduates who don't speak the language and don't care about the don't share the mission. That's why I like you guys to employ them. Also operationally a lot easier.
I can also say that even if you do that, assume that your first 3 years of graduating classes won't necessarily come to you because they did not go to the residency for the mission.
Especially in LA. If you're in LA, a lot of people just want to be in LA, not so much the mission.
So true. So true.
Okay? Or San Francisco or Sacramento or whatever.
Yeah, the major hubs there. Which is on the flip side, okay, 10 minutes, got it. On the flip side, something to watch out for, okay, our Grass Valley folks, retention, if you're to be a continuity site. There are things that you can do to try and up your retention to make sure, through who you interview and how you interview, to make sure, or hopefully prevent, that you're not grooming residents who really just wanted to live in Sacramento, or really just wanted to live in San Francisco. Okay? All right, the types of agreements, let's see. You're going to have a master affiliation agreement. You're going to have, things drive me nuts. Master affiliation agreement. You're going to have agreements for payment of teaching. We talked about that briefly. You're going to have program letters of agreement. You're going to ask for that planning grant. And you're going to ask for a community benefit grant. You may or may not have a lease agreement depending on loan space. Fair market value is critical for every relationship. If you're not employing the faculty, well, this gets more complicated. So there needs to be a faculty PC or foundation model in there somewhere. We've got some of those in California, right? They're not easy. They're not easy. Right, Deb? But that's the only way we can do it in this state. Okay. Same types of agreements in play, just different as to who holds what agreements. Okay. Okay. No problem. It is critical before you start this process that you know you need to ask for. That needs to be developed, a multi-year budget, including startup, including your startup, by entity. An impact analysis. We'll talk about this later. But what is the impact of this residency program on our S2HC financially? There's some urban and rural myths about it, but we'll get there. Transparency. I have a clinic in Michigan that was 150% transparent with their financials, and the hospital was. And then, because I was monkeying the middle and had to keep the information confidential, watched as the clinic slice and slice their budget while the hospital sat there and did not. And we had agreement of transparency up front. Planning grant, talked about that a lot. Payment teaching costs, talked a lot about that. Sometimes I've seen a line of credit offers, and the S2HC is taking on all this financial risk. Another thing just to have in your quiver. If you're a sponsoring institution, it's a heavy lift. It's a lot of work. It takes bandwidth. talk about more sponsoring institutions tomorrow. I don't want to scare people off because it's worth it, because you have control. But it is a heavy lift. I'm going to skip over consortiums because I don't think anybody's really here looking at that model right at the moment based on our survey, and because Kevin's going to talk about it some more. SQHC is sponsoring institution and continuity practice site. It's the most challenging model because it is a heavy lift. You have to have an academic infrastructure. You need to find your partner. What's your inpatient facility going to be? What's your inpatient faculty going to be? You have to work out the payment issue. Are you going to have an academic affiliate? But it's your greatest opportunity for retention. I think that's why, in the wisdom of the Teaching Health Center funding from PERSA, they made a requirement that their community-based ambulatory entity either be the sponsor or be part of the consortium. That's the definition of a sponsoring institution. And you'll have it in your handout. Ultimate financial and academic responsibility. Can't emphasize that enough. How do you decide who's employing who? Who's employing the residents? Who's employing the faculty? Besides our fun corporate practice of medicine stuff in California, there's other considerations. I have a site in another part of California where the benefits of the hospital were 52%. I don't know what they got for that. Okay, so quickly we decided the SQHC was employing. Are there religious and ethical directives? Those of you who work with Catholic hospitals know this one. And because of that, you may choose to not have the resident or the faculty or the program director employed by the hospital, because that may, depending on where you are in the state, give you a bit more freedom on their training. Now, Kevin, I can't even address well, I can a little bit to Adventists, but it's not that far off. Actually, I can. I learned a new phrase with one of your sister hospitals recently called bad Adventists. Hadn't heard that one before. They drink coffee. Also, think about down the road, loan repayment. You got to employ these people if they're going to get loan repayment. If they're going to get CPCA coverage, you got to employ these people. Okay, so all things to think about when the hospital comes in and says, well, of course we're going to employ the faculty. Well, I think it's
So much cheaper to employ them yourself.
It's usually true. That is usually true. Okay, it's always true. How to select a model, I think, is my last slide. What are your views on control? There's enough people in this room who can talk about their experiences on control. Okay. My favorite is Dean Germano's up in Shasta, up at Shasta Community Health Center, who had a residency program track with the hospital across the street that had a program. The residents were over there in their continuity site. They loved it. They built out space for it. It was working well, and then duty hours came into play, and suddenly Dean was our resident like that. Dean is now teaching Health Center, one of the first ones out of the gate, because he was going to make sure he had that control again. But it's other things. Benefit rates, CPCA, what makes business sense for you? Can you take this on? Is this a bandwidth you want to spend? You know, all these kinds of other factors. But my first one is always, first and foremost, control. I made it. Okay. Questions, real quick.